Hey y'all, this is Mo.
And I'm Joy.
We are lifelong friends who met in kindergarten and reconnected in Catholic school when we were 12. We are Christian women who enjoy travel, making art, cooking, baking, reading, and gardening. We do our very best to practice holistic health, and we love America. So pull up a chair and grab a hot tea, coffee, or chai latte and enjoy the show.
Today's job market is different from other times in history. Job seekers face a rapidly evolving workforce with changes in technology, generational attitudes, and even interfaces with AI. Our podcast will offer analysis, real-life examples, interviews, and discussions. We will explore solutions for the current workforce that is impacted by layoffs or just wanting to make a change. And we'll do it while having a laugh or two. Welcome to Real Talk for Today's Job Seekers podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Talk for Today's Job Seekers podcast. I am Joy.
And I'm Mo.
And we would love it if you'd like, share, and subscribe and join us on our social media. We're currently on Facebook and Telegram.
Yes.
Those details are in the show notes below. But before we get started today, I would like to give a quote that I read from a friend that sent it over to me. And it says, "When one door closes, another door opens, but we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open up for us." And that was from Alexander Graham Bell.
That's deep.
It is deep, and it resonated a lot with me because I know that I look at the closed doors a lot.
Yeah.
And think, oh, what could have been, and yeah, you don't look at what's staring you right in the face and what other opportunities are out there that may not look like what you had expected or what you thought it would look like.
But it might be the thing that you were missing all along, or the next new thing that you're meant to do.
Right.
Yeah.
The next new thing. Well, today in our episode 4 that we're doing, we are going to be talking about LinkedIn, AI, and resumes. Yes. So let's start. We will talk a little bit about LinkedIn. For those that aren't familiar with that platform, it is a widely used professional and employment-oriented social network. Mm-hmm. So it connects professionals worldwide, offers networking, collaboration, and professional growth. Mm-hmm. I didn't know this, but it was launched back in May 2003.
Dang.
And then since December, they have been a subsidiary of Microsoft. This tool allows for job seekers to post their resumes and for employers also to post jobs. A lot of their revenue has come from selling access to information of its members to recruiters and sales professionals.
Boo.
Right? But I found this interesting that LinkedIn has over 1 billion registered members from over 200 countries and territories. We talked about it a little bit last time that I don't have a lot of experience on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But Mo, you've been on the platform for quite a while, like we shared in episode 3.
Right.
And with your most recent transition and layoff, what's been your experience?
You know, for me, I just really think, just like anything and everything else, right? As time passes, technology is always changing, and someone else comes up with new ideas or new platforms, whatever it may be. I do think that there's a lot of value in LinkedIn. I know last time I noted that it's really wonderful to have all of your professional network in one place where you can actually reach out and connect and talk or reconnect, so to speak, with former colleagues, and also have the opportunity to meet new people, right? To me, that is the best features of LinkedIn. Now, for those that are a little bit more advanced, there are so many other things. I think that there's some training components and things that I probably don't touch, admittedly. However, I know that there are a lot of people who utilize LinkedIn much more robustly than what I do. I don't want to dig, too deep into all that since we talked about it last time. For those that would like to go back and listen, like Joy said, that's in episode 3. So let's go ahead and start digging into what we're talking about today. So in my most recent experience, which I'm going to categorize December to now, right? Present day. I have noticed so many posts as well as comments, not only from a job seeker perspective, so that would be us, right? But lots and lots from recruiters, talent acquisition professionals, and HR reps. And these posts are written obviously from those perspectives, but it didn't take long for me once I really started looking hard following my layoff back in October. I started noticing a handful of common themes. And these are not things that I recall from the past. So, for example, way back when I first started with LinkedIn, maybe even like I would say in the middle of using LinkedIn all the way until today. And we are obviously touching on a handful of these topics. So from a looking for a job perspective, we thought that we would share a couple of real life case reviews and have a little bit of discussion. So we're not going to name names, but we are going to talk a little bit about a few real life examples. This first one that we selected, I actually found it from a former coworker that got laid off with me back in October. And it was their personal account of their job search struggle. So I'm just going to go ahead and dig into that. This is case number 1. It says, the job market is wild right now. Since being laid off in October, I've applied to nearly 300 jobs. Quick pause here. When I saw that number initially, my jaw literally dropped, Joy.
Right. It's unbelievable.
I was like, 300 jobs? I mean, I know for me, I have put so many hours and so much time into my search, but I've only counted 53 so far that I've applied for. Granted, I haven't jumped at every single job posting. I've tried to scrutinize and whatnot, but 300 is, I just can't imagine how that would feel, right? At first, I cast a wide net, applying for anything that seemed even remotely close to my skill set. After a couple of weeks with 0 callbacks, I decided to narrow my focus and be more strategic. That's kind of the way that I've done it from the beginning, so that makes sense. I also started working with a few recruiters who specialize in roles aligned with my career goals, and it's definitely helped build some momentum. Here's where I'm at now. Now, granted, I would just like to say a quick disclaimer. I pulled these scenarios, I think, back in February, but they were still relevant at the time and relevant to our discussion. So where he was at this time of the post, he was getting a lot more initial screening interviews, a handful of interviews with hiring managers, but no offers. The feedback he got from recruiters: the hiring manager liked you, but we decided to go with someone else. Well, I'm not sure how much of that is true. It feels like a polite way to end the conversation without diving deeper. I'm not confrontational, but I just want to know how I can improve for the next round of interviews. One of the biggest challenges I've faced lately, though, is the strange nature of many job postings. I've kept a meticulous log of every application I've submitted, and I've noticed that about 50% of the jobs I apply to keep getting reposted week after week. Yes. This isn't just on LinkedIn. It's across almost every job board I've found. It feels like many companies are just keeping these listings up for the sake of appearances without any real intention of hiring. So, Joy, I'm going to tease ghost job postings. In the wake of continued layoffs, especially in tech, something needs to change. While I don't know how to fix it, I do feel like job boards could do a better job of vetting these postings to ensure they're legitimate. So there's kind of a recommendation, right? And for anyone else who's navigating the job hunt right now, how are you handling these challenges? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's pause here. A couple of things that jumped out to me. So I myself have done the same thing as this person. I have kept a meticulous notebook and by date of every single job I've applied for, every person I've talked to by name, and what the result was. For me, this post really stood out because number one, I knew the person, I worked with the person, and it just, to me, it kind of, okay, this is credible. It's not just this random post. It's someone that I actually know and worked with. So I can trust this post.
Well, and then you started experiencing the similar issues with searching for a job, and we started having these conversations, and quite honestly, that's why we decided to do this podcast.
Absolutely
and
true.
That's what threw us right into the middle of it.
You're right. 100%.
You're welcome, audience.
So I've got two others that I wanted to highlight. The first one is from a LinkedIn user who is unknown to me. Looks like they are more on the tech side of the house. And this one to me evoked a lot of emotion. I will tell you before I actually share this post that I was actually surprised when I really started paying attention to the post. I will admit I didn't typically spend a lot of time, Joy, in my past perusing LinkedIn comments and posts.
Right.
For me, in the past, I have always utilized LinkedIn for a very specific purpose. I do not make personal posts on LinkedIn and typically I would go through certain things for the companies that I follow and for specific news that I was looking for, but never to really have the social component.
Right.
Okay. So let's dig into this one, and I'd really like to hear your immediate feedback on this, Joy, and then I will share mine. It's been 14 months since the Fannie Mae layoff. Around 800 plus job applications later. I'll repeat that. Around 800 plus job applications later. So that is, let's see here, 500 more than the previous post I shared. Here's what I can report. 4 seemingly serious responses, only to end up as a complete waste of time and false hope. 3 in-person interviews, 2 of which ghosted me after 3 rounds, despite strong indications that an offer was coming. One even had me sign an NDA, which I wish I didn't, and told them to go ... Use your imagination. No prospects in the past 10 months. Literally 0 in all caps. It feels like every application just vanishes into a black hole. And when I do get a response, it's usually the same automated corporate language. I'm not sure what this word is, actually. I consider myself a pretty well-read individual, but this honestly is a new one on me. Joy, write this down real quick. Drivel? I don't know. D-R-I-V-E-L. What is this?
Yes. Dribble.
I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. I must have forgot to look that word up. Anyway, side note. Let's continue. While we were impressed with your background and experience, the team has chosen to continue the interview process with other candidates whose skills and experience more closely aligned with this role. Then comes the patronizing follow-up. We appreciate your interest in, insert company name, and encourage you to apply for future openings. Sure, because anyone with an ounce of dignity and self-respect is going to go crawling back to the same company that just rejected them with a generic, sugar-coated brush-off. If you were actually, in quotes, impressed with my credentials, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Look, I get it. Not every organization is looking for someone like you or me. That's normal. But spare me the BS. In many ways, it's better when they don't respond at all. At least then, it's clear after about a week or 2 that they are not interested. The insult comes when they circle back just to remind you that you weren't selected. Interesting. The most frustrating part, I don't know what I bring to the table. My background is impeccable, my credentials are rare, and my work has saved employers millions, sometimes billions. But I didn't lick the right boots, and here we are. And we move on. What stings the most, though, is knowing that in this industry, based upon nearly 3 decades of experience, that's substantial. At least 20 to 25% of the workforce is made up of utterly incompetent people. Yet they thrive because they've mastered the art of corporate bootlicking while the rest of us are left hanging. Yes, I am still in search. Yes, I need a job, mostly because I am bored, but paying the bills easily would help. End.
Ouch.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, before I respond to that, I had a chance to look up drivel
Oh,
in the
thank you so
Merriam's
much.
Webster's dictionary.
Share.
Transitive verb to talk stupidly and carelessly.
Oh, so let me go back and review this really quick. I can't believe that I missed that. So the same automated corporate drivel. Okay, so careless words, not helpful.
Stupid words. Yes.
Oh, okay, thanks for that.
Yes. At the very least, what these people are going through, you're wasting people's time.
Yes.
Not illegal to do what they're doing. Should it be? Should it? It's inhumane.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Bitter pill, right? Bitter pill.
And I'm trying to think of what to compare it to, like within other industries or other. You can go out and wave your flag and waste your time, but this is your job. This is how your source of income. This is your source of identity for a lot of people. This is different. And it's bad at a whole new level. I mean, I don't think that there should be, I don't know, I don't feel like government should intervene in this stuff. And what do you think?
I feel all of that. Absolutely. And you know what? When you were just talking, it flashed back to last episode, that interesting feedback that you had received, I believe, from Morgan.
Yep.
And just the comment that they had felt somehow unworthy or humiliated and felt like they kind of had to justify themselves to an older generation, perhaps a grandparent or whoever it may have been, because they worked for a company probably lifelong and possibly had a pension or whatever. And it's just not the same in today's day and age. And I can definitely relate to, it does feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, am I not good enough or worthy enough? So that's what some of your comments made me remember. But as bad as this one stung, I can honestly tell you that I was shocked as I began spending more and more time going down this rabbit trail especially after you and I started talking. And I started asking you, I think I've asked this question so many times. Well, where are the jobs? And then it started to kind of morph into this, if I see a job posting, my first question that I ask myself is this a real job posting? Again, I'm going to tease ghost job posting because that's one of the things we learned, and we'll be talking about that, I think, next episode.
Yes.
But again, as tough as some of that one was that I just walked through, I have truly been shocked because LinkedIn is supposed to be a professional networking site. Joy, I can honestly tell you that I have seen some eyebrow raising, mouth drop open in shock, angry posts about people outraged.
Yeah.
That they cannot find a job, they're getting ghosted, and it's a nightmare, and they need money, and they need to pay bills, and they're excuse me, furious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it got my attention.
Yes.
And you're right, it started all of this. Here we are learning a different skill set, and we're pushing ourselves, but we're exploring these things because they're all over. It's not just one or two, 20 or 30 posts. It's way more than that.
And I don't think that we've been, quote unquote, left behind as far as the technology, as far as the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's missing the boat on this. I think the 20-year-olds are having issues. I think the 30-year-olds.
Right.
And our group of people.
Which will remain a little bit ambiguous.
Yes.
So, all right. So our last and third one we selected because while it had some similar concerns, we were very interested because this individual actually took the time to dig in. And while we don't necessarily agree with all of the recommendations, we were kind of fascinated. I remember when I first brought this to you and we talked about it, probably like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, we just were so interested in the quote unquote possible solutions that were offered, right? Okay. So this is also a LinkedIn user, unknown to me. I just was fascinated. So let's take a look. I've applied to 200 plus jobs. So this one is the least amount of jobs applied for of the three. Here's what's wrong with LinkedIn's job board. As a job seeker, I've spent months applying to roles on LinkedIn. Countless hours tailoring resumes, and writing cover letters. And yet, here's what I found. 60% of the jobs I applied to were reposted weeks later, often with the exact same description. I'll pause here and say I can personally attest. In my job search, Joy, I have seen the exact same thing. 100%. Okay, let's get back to it. 30% of the roles I interviewed for were suddenly put on hold or canceled. Okay, my feedback here for a moment. My other personal favorite is, due to changing business needs, we have decided not to pursue this role. Perfect. Then why did you have it posted in the first place?
Right.
Anyway, that was just a side note. All right, her final stat was 10% of the postings were for roles that didn't even exist. I'll just kind of refer back to my previous comment a moment ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't just frustrating, it's a systemic issue. Companies are using job boards like LinkedIn to collect resumes, gauge market interest, or create the illusion of growth. I have personally heard that from a multitude of people. Meanwhile, and here's the heart of the matter, job seekers like me, or you, or you, or you, or you, are left in the dark, wasting time and energy on roles that were never real to begin with. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, here was the fascinating portion. It was the second part of her post. She broke it down into two separate sections. The first one was recommendations for what she felt that LinkedIn could do to fix it. She had 4 feedbacks. Number 1, she feels that LinkedIn should verify job listings. That they should require companies to prove they're actively hiring before allowing them to post roles. Number 2, expiration dates. Automatically remove job postings after 30 days unless the employer confirms that they're still hiring or probably still in the hiring process. Number 3, transparency metrics. Show how many applicants have been interviewed or hired for a role. That's interesting. I have noted a couple times, Joy, on certain job postings, you can see how many applied for the role, but I've never seen any other type of stat. Maybe I've missed it, but her last recommendation for what LinkedIn can do to help fix these issues is to provide a feedback mechanism that would allow job seekers to flag suspicious postings for review. Right? Interesting.
Yes.
Lastly, and you touched upon this actually just a couple minutes ago, I'm kind of with you. I'm like, no thanks. But she actually had 4 recommendations about what government should do. Number 1, regulate job postings. Pass laws requiring companies to disclose if a role is speculative or not actively hiring. Number 2, penalize bad actors. Fine companies that repeatedly post ghost jobs to mislead candidates. Interesting. Number 3, create a reporting system. Establish a platform where job seekers can report fraudulent or misleading postings. Number 4, enforce transparency. Require companies to publicly share hiring metrics like time to fill and applicant to hire ratios. Interesting. She basically ends her post with, what's your experience been like? How many ghost jobs have you encountered? Let's share our stories and demand change.
And I bet she got a lot of feedback.
I bet she did too. I did not go back, but I'd like to hear your thoughts well, actually, I've heard your thoughts, but I'd like for you to share with the audience what we've talked about, because we were pretty blown away about the aspect of the government and her solutions, because I hadn't really noticed with all of the postings and the frustrations and the stats, people actually trying to come up with how can we possibly try to fix this.
Well, it'd be great if the companies just weren't jerks and they would do
Yeah.
what they're supposed to do. And I'm wondering, like, so when I was at the bank, they would have the salespeople, and you have to open so many accounts, and if you don't open the account, you get in trouble, and then you get fired and whatever. But I wonder if it's like that for the recruiters. Like, do they have a natural sales goal set for these recruiters? Though the recruiters are going in and making up stuff, and like you say. But what I found most interesting was about that, when you were going through your list, was the companies trying to make themselves look more profitable and look
Right.
they're gaslighting people. And again, it's not illegal to gaslight at this point, but gosh, just be honest. Just level with people, and I think like the social component to like the suggestions with regards to, you know, have it like a TripAdvisor, or have it like a you don't normally decide to go to the restaurants that are 2 and 3 and 4 pages beyond that have the low rating. I don't know, but then,
that's interesting.
Then you're creating the company have a bad rep, and I don't want them to necessarily have a bad rep either. But if you're doing bad things and you're,
isn't there that thing called Glassdoor?
Yes, that's one of the platforms.
Isn't that what people do to kind of rate how it is to work for? I'm probably completely wrong, but I think that there's something that's out there that's kind of like a TripAdvisor for a company that you might want to work for. I just don't ever mess with that stuff.
So on Indeed, if you go looking for a job, you can look for so many jobs and look for so much information, and then they want to know your previous information, your comments and feedback on your previous roles, or else it won't let you go any further.
Yeah.
So you're giving a rating to that company, and you're giving some comments to that company within that. If you want to pursue that. Okay. But I wonder if that's what Glassdoor is, because I thought that was a platform to receive or look for jobs. And maybe that's the same thing that they can...
Clearly, I don't know enough about it, because, again, I'm one of those people, I use the internet and social media or whatever for a specific purpose, and I don't really go out.
Get off.
Yeah, I don't... Well, here we go. Let's take that back to, I'm probably the worst, girl shopper, right? I'm one of those weird people. I hate to shop. I don't like to browse. If I have to do it, I go in, I have a purpose, and then I'm out of there. Poor Grandma Betty, she hated that. She could shop until the cows came home. Me, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I actually went out real quick, Joy, and I looked up her post. So that post that I just shared is actually 2 months old, and you are correct. It garnered over 4,600 reactions, 707 comments, and 220 reposts.
To this point, yeah.
To this point, and she actually has made several posts on ghost job epidemics, the dirty secret of the job market, why are companies flooding us with fake job postings. She has obviously done quite a bit of research, and the one that I just shared by far in looking at this has been her most, that hit a nerve. I mean, I see that she's got movement on several of her other postings, but that one that we just discussed far outweighs.
Maybe we should link to that in our show notes so that our listeners can look at it if they're interested in learning more.
Maybe so, but probably what we'll do is I will reach out to her to see
and make sure it's okay.
if that's okay.
We're going to make sure it's kosher, guys. And
absolutely.
So it might be in the show notes and it might not be.
Yes, thank you for that disclaimer, because I never just want to jump on someone, because I know we hate that.
Yes, we do.
I just found to me, those job postings really launched us into all of those conversations and then got us here. Mm-hmm. You're 100% correct with that. Sometimes you lose sight of how did you get where you are, and I don't know, you probably had some sort of a view with your background, but if you would have ever asked me, Joy, would you do a podcast? I'd be like, heck no.
Yeah.
And yet.
And then you're like, we need to do a podcast about this.
And here we are. Yes. Yeah, you can just, just kind of as a wrap with all of that, it's obviously real. Mm-hmm. There's so much out there. There's a lot of frustration. I've seen a lot of fear. I've seen anger. I've seen sadness. I've seen worry. And I'm hoping that at some point soon the tide will turn and new innovations will come along and new things will happen and people can land and find their next space.
Right.
So what's a big way that people use to market themselves, Joy? I think you're going to talk about resumes, right?
Yes, that would be our resumes. One of the questions that we kind of spitball back and forth is, should we tailor our resume for each job? And I wasn't sure, so I asked AI what it thought.
Oh, of course you did.
And so AI said, yes, tailoring your resume for each job is a great idea. Employers look for candidates whose skills and experience align closely with the specific requirements of a role. So it said that, but it did give us a couple of good tips.
All right.
It says that you can highlight relevant skills. You can use keywords, and I'm hearing that is more and more important to incorporate the proper keywords from the job posting into your resume, so that the applicant tracking systems, or the little bots inside the computer that screen the resumes, will like it. Mm-hmm. You can also focus on your achievements, of course. Emphasize your accomplishments that are most relevant to that position.
Yep.
And then also you can kind of rearrange the content. So one of the big trends, just as a side conversation, real quick, is to put your picture on the resume.
Oh, heck no.
And a lot of the Canva.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I have.
Are you serious?
Yes.
No. So maybe that's why all these people are doing the AI touch-up photos or whatever that I'm seeing. Is that what that's about?
I don't know. But I wonder if they are using that, if the bots are screening that and figuring out if you fit into the DEI that they have, or the profile that they're looking for, or whatever. But yes, a lot of the new formats, when you go into Word or, like I say, Canva, a lot of the profiles and templates have photos and graphics and kind of
I've
extra
just learned
stuff.
something completely new. Like, you haven't shared this. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I have not seen any of this. I'm going to pause for a second. Any listeners, have you guys seen this stuff too? I don't know why I'm surprised, but the thought of like putting my photo, I'm not saying that I'm like, necessarily scary, but that just feels, I mean, after being in the workforce for so long, I've just never personally seen. I mean, I used to interview people back in the day. I've hired people. That just feels weird.
And it should be words on a page, right? Yeah, I had redone mine because I thought I was following the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings, and had sent it out to a few of my friends, and they're like, no, get rid of the picture. Okay.
Oh, dang.
But yeah.
is crazy.
And as far as like content and changing the resume up per job, I haven't done that so much for my job, but I'm tending to look for the same job over and over again
Yes.
as far
Ditto.
as tech, and I kind of want to stay in that swim lane.
Yeah.
I guess if I went to work for a nonprofit or did something more administrative, I would tweak that a little bit. But at the same time, I don't want to tweak that because I want to highlight my strengths as far as the tech is concerned.
Right.
So I kind of sit on the side of not changing it for each job. But what are your thoughts and how have you handled that, Mo?
So for me, again, I guess I'm going to age myself and say I consider myself more old school. I remember way back when, I'm not going to say how long. And I mean, since I've been on this trend the last couple weeks of name dropping, I'm going to name drop my longtime friend and former coworker, B-Dub.
B-Dub.
Yep. He did a first major overhaul of what I would consider my first professional resume.
Oh.
And
did he chew it up and spit it out and it was totally different? Or
yes. But it was my first big leap, and I appreciate it because he's very detailed. I really loved, he had a completely different perspective. Right. And it really kind of started the foundation for what has kind of morphed over the years. And I've had others provide input, but Jeff again. Okay, so Jeff, you jumped up in 2 episodes now. Goodness. He actually has helped me quite a bit in more recent years. And he has been able to help provide a lot more, I would say, meat to specific roles and write it in a way where it is highlighting what I did and how it benefited the company. I feel like that's a little bit of maybe a weakness. I tend to be like more bullet point. I did this, this, and this, and I gloss over what it did and how it benefited. Because to me, it was like, that's my job. This is what I did. I tend to not embellish.
Right, but you've got to tell people the story, and you have to take them along on the ride because they're not going to understand it.
Exactly. So I feel like that has been a great help for me with Jeff and getting my resume, where it is actually right now. My perspective about a resume is it's supposed to tell a story about your professional life. It should highlight your top skills that you're wanting to showcase. And it should really be the reason why you bring value. However, I feel that it has been distorted by AI and what could have possibly been a help. For me, I just feel like a lot of the HR practices that I have noted over the past, I would say maybe 15 years, I don't know. It seems like it has lost the ability. It's like, it's been interesting for me to learn kind of, so a company has their HR people, right? And some companies have dedicated HR staff and dedicated recruiters. And it seems in some capacities that they possibly compete. And then you've got the external recruiters who are also trying to compete for a piece of the market. And it's not just them, it's multiple recruiting companies. And they're not only going against each other, but they're going against the internal company's HR or recruiting. I've had it explained to me in a variety of different ways from a handful of different people. And it just feels like, my personal opinion, we need to get back to the basics. And HR needs to be about connecting with the individual, learning who they are, what their values are, and how they can add value to the company. Honestly, for me, and I'm going to be good, I'm not going to say what actually just popped into my mind. I honestly don't give a crap if my resume meets a threshold of keywords. Mm-hmm. I am a person, I am an individual. It is me who will take a job and support a team, support a division, support an executive, drive an implementation, run a project, whatever it is, it's me. My keywords and my AI percentage are not going to do the job. Right. I am.
Right.
So get to know me and what I'm about, and let me do my thing. Me personally, I feel like that is the biggest missing key to where we are compared to, gosh, I could tell the funny story. It just hit me. I don't even know where it came from. My first professional job that I got. We'll say that for a minute. Will you make a note about, let's tell stories on a future podcast about our very first job interviewing experience and any weird stuff that came up, because that also was on my goodbye letter after my 18 years. I told that story, and it's pretty funny for another day. But before we move, like the resume thing, I do want to share a quick piece of advice that I was given a couple of months ago. So, Eric, thank you for this recommendation. Although I actually still have not done it, I know that it personally helped you, so I wanted to share it, and it might help others. So the recommendation was to sign up for LinkedIn Premium, even for a brief period of time. So apparently if you do that, and it didn't sound like it was very expensive. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember what he said. But apparently if you sign up for the premium, it will recommend jobs to you that are more specific to your skill set. It will also scan your resume and make recommendations per role. So getting back to Joy, what you were talking about, should you customize your resume, right? Honestly, for me, I go back and forth. I've done both. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't feel like it's made a difference one way or another in the current job search market that we are in. I've also polled tons of other people, and they've had the same feedback. Some people swear by it. Some people feel like it's a waste of time. For me right now, I'm sticking with what I have, and that is what every company is getting until I'm asked for something different.
Yeah.
Man, that was a lot about resumes. I didn't realize I felt so passionate, but
right.
I guess it stirred it up, right?
Right. Well, there's so many things to talk about with regards to it. And I just want to talk a little more about AI. Mm-hmm. So I'm new to AI. I know it's been around for years, but it has really come on the scene in my world very recently.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, it's powerful, and it's very scary. I've started using it, some with video editing and some even for prompts for this podcast. Mm-hmm. And right now, you can catch it as far as grammatical errors and some of the things that it says. With the video editing and stuff, or them just showing you a bot talking to you about something, you can kind of catch their lips messing up or they're extra
right.
blinky.
Yes.
So, like I say, you can kind of still catch it if you know what you're looking for. But there will be a day that we are not going to be able to catch it.
No, don't say that.
And who knows, number one, what we're looking at a lot of times.
Yeah.
In our comments, in our feeds, the articles that we're reading, the videos that we're watching, because I'm playing with it at the level that I'm playing with it, but I know that there's much more sophisticated photo editing, videography, word tools that are out there. AI can be a powerful ally to both help you craft your resume and to streamline your job search. You know, you can use it for content suggestions. It can help you identify relevant skills, experiences, keywords. Like
Yeah.
we had talked about, the formatting and design. Maybe that's where some of the photos and the graphics and the different fonts are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It can make it look more polished and ATS friendly, like we had kind of talked about. It can proofread. It can review your grammar and spelling, but it can also mess it up, and it can change the phrasing and give you some problems.
Yes.
So with regards to job searches, it can help you with interview prep. Some of the AI tools can help stimulate some interview questions or provide you feedback on your answers. It's worth noting, though, that AI is often used by the employers as well for screening the resumes, kind of like we touched on before. If you have those optimized keywords with the relevant
Mm-hmm.
ATS loving words, that could increase the chances of your resume getting noticed.
Yep.
But
Or even actually making it to a real person,
to
right?
a person,
That
yes.
right there is really the key.
Right.
How do you get past the machine, so to speak?
Is AI kicking back a lot of good candidates
I
because
think
you're
so.
just not tickling the algorithm correctly? How much of it all is real, and how much of it is bots? What are your thoughts around that, Mo?
Whew. I would say not pleasant. I 100% believe, based upon experience and many people's feedbacks, I think lots of good candidates are getting overlooked. I think that, again, we've lost the human component of knowing who the person is and what value they're going to bring to a role. Somehow we have lost the human in the human resources. My personal feeling. Well, I've never asked to be quoted before, but sure, go ahead.
That's very tweetable or exable.
But honestly, I'm sure I'm not the only one that said that, because I, by far, am not a clever person, especially with words. I'm definitely a black and white speaker with not tons of embellishment, although I do love words.
Yes.
And I love to read. I've probably read, I bet I'm going close to 2,000 books or more in my lifetime. So I do love words, but I do not feel that it is giving a lot of justice. I do think that it can help HR personnel and or recruiters from a filtering perspective, and perhaps that's how it started out, Joy. I didn't work in HR, so I can't say with any type of authority. I can speculate. But it seems to me that it has taken on much more of a role that has hurt job seekers.
Mm-hmm.
If you, well, and let's talk about this for a hot minute. Let's look at the number of people that are applying and vying for one role. It is not uncommon to see 100 plus people trying to get one role. I can see how it would be a helpful tool for the person trying to fill the role. And I think that there's value in that, because everyone needs a little bit of help. But when you miss the ability to actually see the person, then there's where you run into your issues. You know,
Again,
reputation.
Bring back the human and human resource.
Right.
It's just well said.
Your reputation and your background do matter, and they should play a part. Your resume is only a piece of the big picture.
Right.
It is not all of you. It is parts of you that you think stood out. But the other thing is, think about perspective. The things that you might have felt like you did the best and you jammed it out on, someone else might have seen it differently, or they might have really valued this other thing that you did, this other piece of work you completed. So it's just very subjective, and you got to get back to the people. You have to. And before we leave this whole AI conversation, I'm going to give a little plug, which is definitely not something I normally do. I mean, I'll talk about my peeps all day long. And I was trying to figure it out because you said something when you were talking about AI and it reminded me. So, again, everyone, I'll remind y'all, I am not the techie in this group. That is Joy.
That's me.
Yes, it is. However, I have always dabbled, and I have tons of friends in the techie world, and love them to death. I have listened to a couple of podcasts here and there, and admittedly, several of them are way over my head, but I came across this All In podcast, and they have covered a couple of different things regarding AI, and they're all things tech. They're super interesting dudes, sometimes a little bit off color, but for people that are really into that type of thing, I would recommend listening to some of that because they've got some very interesting perspectives. And I feel like I've learned it's not necessarily related to our HR discussion for our purposes, but if you're a more techie person or you're interested in some of those concepts, cool stuff. I've even shared a couple with you, Joy.
Yes.
I think we've definitely covered some of that. I'm going to take a second before we really start to close out. And I'd like to say that even though we've whispered the word a few times in today's podcast, our next podcast is going to do a deep dive into ghost job concept. This was something that I actually thought was, dare I say, fake news or something along that concept. I really didn't think that that was real, but obviously we read through a couple of people's real life LinkedIn postings earlier. It was referenced, and it's very interesting. It's actually one of the most often cited sources of frustration cited by job seekers on social media right now. Obviously companies can't respond to every application. It's impossible to do all things correct. So this is definitely not meant to beat up anyone. And let's face it, it's important for companies to a degree to be strong and to show themselves as strong and viable for a host of reasons, right? We all have to embellish a little here, embellish a little there. But truly, for me, learning about the concept of a ghost job posting, once I actually realized it was real, and then digging deep into it, we really wanted to talk about it. You guys, be thinking about that. I'd love for you to gather up any stories if you yourself have experienced that, and we will dig into that really hard on the next episode. Joy, I'm excited.
That sounds awesome. Yes, I'm very curious to hear comments from everybody, and just want to say thank you again to all you guys for tuning into the Real Talk for Today's Job Seekers podcast with Mo and Joy. If you'd like to advertise or connect with our amazing audience across the country, please feel free to reach out to us at realtalkfortodaysjobseekers@gmail.com. We'd also love to hear your ideas. If you've got any topic suggestions, join us on Facebook or Telegram. You can find all that information in the show notes, and be sure to check out those show notes for more information on upcoming episodes as well.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you on episode 5.
See you then.
Bye, y'all. We want to thank you for listening to the Real Talk for Today's Job Seeker podcast with Mo and Joy. If you want to advertise and connect with our many listeners around the country, please reach out to us at realtalkfortodaysjobseeker@gmail.com. If you have any show topic, join us on our Facebook page to give us any recommendations and also to find out about upcoming shows. Thanks again for listening.